Hello, welcome back to Far Horizons Gaming. My name is Ben, and today we're going to continue on Suzerain. The last time out, we made some plans for the future with our cabinet and addressed the nation in our State of the Union address. So let's go ahead and continue on to the next chapter here. Revelations. Nice, okay, so we got a couple news reports, so let's start with those like usual. And they're both from Geopolitico. First one, Queen Beatrice demands reparations for century-old alleged war crimes. Queen of Wurmberg, Beatrice Livingston, brought up the S-Sword incident of the 15-Day War, igniting the forgotten century-old debate of Swordish war crimes. She spoke about the need for peace and change in eastern Maricopa, and that the way forward can only be walked if past atrocities are finally settled. Queen Livingston claimed that the Swordish army in 1870 had massacred ethnic Rums with plans of committing genocide. Swordland still hasn't claimed any responsibility for their past war crimes, said the Queen, and demanded reparations to be paid. Interesting. If there's any truth to that, we might do something about it, because that might be a good way to avoid this war. Or the lady could just be, like, bullshitting us, trying to come up with some, like, manufactured reason to start the war. Who knows? Alright, and in a different war that's probably going to happen, hundreds killed in Helluland. Or 100 killed, sorry. According to the reports, the riots in Helluland had already resulted in the arrest of thousands. The number of deaths is believed to have surpassed 100. Agnolian government has still not released a statement about the bloody conflict. The riots in Helluland had exploded out of proportion in the aftermath of the murder of a Volgish Helllander. The majority of the arrests and deaths belong to the Volgish community in the island. Governor of Helluland claimed that the riots are being incited and supported by the Volkslanian government. Yeah, that's gonna be a total disaster, and we're allied with Einland, but or not Einland, Agnolia, but we did not promise any sort of military assistance to them, so that's the only positive there. So we hopefully won't get dragged into that conflict. Alright. So, moving on from there, it looks like we have one report and then the exclamation point. So let's pop over here to vezord. Gendarmerie police issue. A massive miscommunication between the Interior and Gendarmerie has resulted in a failed raid in vezord. The Ministry of Defense and Interior have both put the blame on each other. There will be a gathering soon to solve the ongoing dispute within the security. Okay, so that's probably why Lilius wanted to take control of the Gendarmerie. Alright, that makes sense now. Okay. And departure of President's son from home. It was a cloudy, rainy day in Holsword. The gloomy weather echoed my own feelings. My constitutional changes had been defeated, and I was back to square one. I couldn't spend the day moping, however. Franc was finally about to leave home. My son piled the last of his bags next to the door. Serge and the assistant driver were waiting outside next to the car. Did you pack everything? Don't forget to call me immediately after you arrive. Mom, I'm moving less than an hour away. You'll see me all the time. I know, but it won't be the same. Monica helped him put his backpack on while Serge started carrying the luggage to the car. Do you really need help putting on your backpack? I made you a sack of lunch. I'll get it from the kitchen. She dashed down the hall. Franc and I turned to face each other in the doorway. So, I guess this is it. You're gonna do great. Thanks, Dad. Franc shifted his weight nervously. I haven't forgotten what you told me about your university years. I hope Hillsword State gives me a chance to prove myself the way you did. Don't model your life on mine. You're your own man now, Franc. Franc smiled. Alright, Dad. At that moment, Diana rushed to the door. Franc, gonna miss you. I'll miss you too. Don't forget, you've got to give Mom and Dad an extra hard time for both of us now. Diana nodded. Okay. Franc picked up his sister and gave her a big hug. Monica appeared in the doorway, holding a paper bag. I cut the crust off your sandwich just the way you used to like. Don't forget anymore, Mom. Can't a mother pretend? Franc. She embraced him with tears in her eyes. Franc looked as if he was about to cry as well. Serge approached. Sir, as per the schedule, Franc needs to be at Hull State University to start his orientation in an hour. We'll have to leave now to make it. Time to go, Franc. Franc turned around and took one last look at me. Make me proud. Franc nodded before heading into the car. It's difficult to see them grow and leave, isn't it? Yeah, but it's time for him to find himself in the world. He will. We all did, after all. Living away from home makes your own choices for the first time. It changes a man. I think it'll be a liberating experience for him. It's never easy for boys to live in the shadow of their fathers. It must be even harder when one's father's Anton Rain. A great man like you casts a very long shadow. Not everyone thinks that. Excuse my language, Mr. President, but to hell with him. You are my president, now and forever. He looked at his watch. Time to go. Franc waved his hand as he entered the car. The engine started, and they were on their way. Monica stood next to me as they drove away. Her eyes were teary. There he goes. It already feels different. She put her head on my shoulder. He'll be fine. I know he will. With the defeat of your forms, I hope we'll be alright. We watched for a few minutes, even after the car was no longer in sight. Wow, okay. A whole lot of things just popped up here. Okay, yeah, let's just go ahead and start with the newspapers. Okay, Whole Sword Post, beware of new youth. A new militant organization named New Youth started to emerge in Whole Sword State University. The first large-scale incident they were involved in, they attacked the bystanding security forces and even went so far as to burn a police car. As a result of their actions, many students and members of the police forces are now injured. Exercise caution and be on the lookout for potential New Youth members. Do your duty and report them to the police. Awesome, so we just sent our kid to a school that's being attacked by a militant organization. It's fantastic. Alright, Lockhaven Times. Summer of Love has begun. Amidst the rising unrest, a large group overtook a small farm near Deer called Treestock Farm. They are from every corner of our society. Students, lawyers, actors. They're generally dressed in floral clothing, and some were spotted with nothing on them in an attempt at public indecency. As if it is despite the current situation of our country, they're dancing and singing songs. They proclaim that peace is the message, and that this summer will be the summer of love. Alright, so apparently it's 1969. Well, hippie action here. Fantastic. Okay, from the Radical, Walk for Peace. People of Lockhaven is known to be proud and just. In an action fitting their reputation, a protest group has started a long walk from Lockhaven to Wholesword. Among them are old, young, and even children. The campaign is called Walk for Peace, and it wishes to bring attention to finding a middle ground to solving the increasing tensions. Bravo, Lockhaven. We hope this moment spreads to other cities as well. And FC Anarcha and FC Gilzord hand in hand. For the only time in their history, the sworn rivals FC Anarcha and FC Gilzord fans stood side by side against the police brutality. During the derby match yesterday, the fans of both teams united to protest the security forces' mishandling of the recent events. Hand in hand, they created an impenetrable wall to let President Rain know they won't simply bow their heads to his goons. They let him know that Sorlin belongs to the people and people alone. What goons? Alright, I'm really confused about that, unless that's whatever that raid was. Or maybe that's one of these reports, I don't know. But at the moment, I have no idea what's going on there. Alright, Geopolitico. Volkslandian ships harassing the entire Markian Sea. Recent reports from the Markian Sea show that the tensions in the region are at an all-time high. After the deployment of the Agnolian Navy around Helluland to contest the patrolling Volkslandian fleet, both sides collided with each other on several occasions so far. In one instant, Volkslandian destroyers said to have fired an Agnolian cruiser. According to the Agnolian government, Volksland is trying to force its hand, and that the Agnolian Navy may need to properly intervene if left with no other options. Other reports came from Swordland, which have reported 4 of their sea vessels been blocked and harassed by the Volkslandian fleet. Cool, so we're being harassed by another country now as well. That's going to be super helpful. Alright, And speaking of our ships being harassed, Luxlandian Navy ships have steered a dozen Swordfish cargo ships out of their shipping lanes this week, leading to the Maritime Safety Organization to change the sea routes. The new path to United Continent and Arcasia is twice as long, but avoids a potential contact with the Falkland Navy. Swordfish Navy Admiral has called the Falklandian actions reckless and potential threat to civilian lives due to high risk of collisions. The Admiral dispatched several frigates to protect the maritime borders. Fantastic. Alright, what do we got over here? Right, got 3 more, so let's go to Lockhaven. Should be that weird protest. A new type of anti-violence protest is gaining traction in Lockhaven. The protesters said that they are going to be walking from Lockhaven to Hulsord in a display for peace. We have squad cars following the crowd to ensure the safety of our citizens. Further reports will be issued if there are any updates. Alright, and to Deer, odd gathering at the tree plantation. Alright, so we're going back to totally not Woodstock. Gathering of 9 to 10,000 individuals was spotted in the tree plantation near Dyer. The first reports indicate that they are currently peaceful. More reports indicate that they are playing music until dawn and handing flowers to police units and security members deployed to the area. A few of them were put under arrest for public nudity. We are unsure how to proceed and will keep watching their movements. And large-scale protests during Gelsord v Anarcha. Large-scale protests broken out during the derby match between FC Gelsord and FC Anarcha. Hooligans from both sides caused extensive property damage to the stadium in their protests against the police. To prevent the incident from expanding further, extra police units have been deployed. So far, there are 42 injuries and 4 burned cars outside the stadium. Over 89 arrests were made in relation to the events. Okay, well that's cool, because I thought the newspaper said it was like a peaceful protest. Well, go back down here. Yeah, the radicals said they united to protest the security forces. So that makes it sound like it was a good thing. According to this report, it sounded like it was basically a riot. So that's brilliant. Alright, let's pop up to Rumburg. Queen Beatrice Livingston has called for reparations to be paid for the so-called past atrocities that occurred during the 15-Day War. Rumburg demands that the price of past wrongdoings must be paid if the path to peace is to open between the two nations. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is analyzing the situation and coming up with a plan of action. Sad. That might be a good way to try to sue for peace, unless she's just looking to manufacture that pretext. Alright, back to Hulsord here. Violent protests at Hulsord State University. A group of students at Hulsord State University, calling themselves the New Youth, started protesting police involvement in the protests. The protests turned violent, and an assailant threw a Molotov cocktail on a squad car, lighting it on fire. 14 have been arrested, as well as the ringleader. They're being questioned to find out if they have membership in any terrorist organizations. Fantastic. Alright, well, that was a lot of news. So let's finally jump into the next story beat here. Discussion on the changes to the law. Lucy and I sat in my office waiting for Peter. I was at my desk and he was on the sofa, legs crossed.
Sir, I have some news for you. Mr. Hull and I have been working on several possible plans to boost the economy, as is our focus. He's currently compiling a very detailed report with suggested projects. I'll make sure you have a chance to see it soon.
He looked at his watch again.
Looks like Mr. Vice President is late yet another time.
He lowered his voice.
I am slightly concerned about Peter. He seems to have his mind occupied. He's been late to almost every meeting we've had recently.
I've noticed it too. I need to talk to him in private sometime. Suddenly there's a knock at the door. It was Peter. He walked inside with files in both hands. Oh, gentlemen. Welcome, Peter. Have a seat. Oh, thank you. I placed the files on my table, took out several documents, organized them in front of me. Yes, everything, just as you asked. Our plans for next reforms. You can use your presidential decrees to enact reforms now. We have enough political capital. I also bought a list of suggested reforms from our party. What are your thoughts, Anton? Yeah, I've got a few ideas myself. I took a look at the documents. Okay. So I can select up to 3 laws to enact. Ah, okay, I see. So because I didn't get the laws reformed to give me stronger presidential decrees, can't do some of these. Okay, well, that kind of sucks, but... Alright, so what choices do we have? We can enact desolinization. Influence present soul is in every facet of society with his portrait, statues, and name dotting every possible spot. The administration can begin a desolinization process with a decree to remove the cult of personality that's been established around the second president. Not a bad idea. Alright, Fair Trade and Competition Commission. Trade and commerce in Sorlin has few regulatory measures, resulting in unfair competition at times. A new Fair Trade Commission can be established via decree to push for fair market competition by protecting local industries through new regulations. That also sounds like a really good idea. Alright, gender equality in education. Yeah, that one, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. Amnesty for all Soul-era political prisoners. That also sounds pretty self-explanatory. Rural Education Institutes. Sordon lacks technical and theoretical institutes for rural regions, causing people to migrate to cities for opportunities. A new directive would see the construction of hundreds of education institutes that would teach the rural population technical and theoretical skills. -2 government budget. Private prisons, sounds self-explanatory as well, but +1 government budget. So that's tempting purely for that, but probably won't go with that. Sordish Radio and Television Supreme Council. Freedom of speech is protected in Sordland, but with the rise of new media, private organizations gain a massive influence on society. With the new decree, we could create a government agency, the SRSC, that could protect the independence of the media or control it. So is that like the FCC? A lower retirement age. The retirement age of Sordland had been increased to 65 in the mid-40s due to economic stagnation. The older voting blocs are requesting a decrease. Our administration can pass a decree that would lower the retirement age to 60, -2 government budget. Or free prescription medicine, which is also self-explanatory and also -1 government budget. Alright, well, a couple of these are definite, like, why bothers. Like, I mean, private prisons I'm not really interested in, even though it would help our government budget. Definitely going to do the gender equality. That's a big thing for both our wife and our education minister. Maybe try to get her back on our good side. Let's do the free medicine. It's going to hurt our budget, but that's super useful. And honestly, since we are focusing on trying to boost the economy, I think the Fair Trade Commission would be useful. So, we're going to go with that. Yes. Following a brief discussion, I took notes about my decisions. The Fair Trade Commission would be essential in dealing with the monopolies. It's time we established a body that regulates economic competition. Looks like either Miss Walder or the First Lady had huge influence on the other decision. It's about time we went after equal rights for the ladies, even if only because all these women's marches are starting to get annoying. It's kind of a dickish excuse to Peter, but it's alright.
This will, however, anger a lot of conservatives. Let us not forget the fact that the biggest bulk of our voters aren't socially liberal. This is a risky move right before the elections.
Half the country is women, Lucian.
Yes, but how many of them are actively involved with these demands for change? It is a mistake to make generalizations because of a vocal minority, but let's move on.
It's the 20th century, we still don't guarantee some basic rights for women. This is unacceptable. Yeah, no shit.
I understand, sir.
It's also great that we'll be giving out free medicine. Our poorer regions definitely suffered from the lack of it.
However, this will put a massive burden on our government budget. It will also be very difficult to build infrastructure in order to provide medicine equally and efficiently. Thankfully, this policy could reflect very well on the next votes, especially with the rural and the poor, if it's executed correctly.
Yeah, I agree. It's possibly a very big if, though, but we'll see. Well, we both respect your decisions, Anton. But now that everything's settled, I should get to work. We'll catch up soon. Lucian looked at his watch.
We actually have 6 more minutes. But, very well, let's call it here.
I don't know. I like Lucien. He's kind of a weird stickler. Thank you all. Yes, okay. So it's annoying that we lost a bit of government budget. I probably should have done the private prisons to help offset that, but I don't know. I don't like the concept of private prisons. Got enough problems with that here in the U.S. All right. But on a positive budget note, Lenkerg commerce all-time high. Commercial activity reports coming from the Ministry of Economics display that the small business activity in Lenkerg has increased, with new goods entering and exiting the port, with trucks traveling at the same distance as before, with faster speeds thanks to the new highway. Lenkerg also reported an increase in visitors and new business openings ever since the opening of H3. The influx of people is primarily coming from Magnolia and the Nargis region of Sordland, who are buying properties and enjoying the cheaper seaside alternative to Lockhaven. Okay, good. So that H3 project is definitely starting to pay off a little bit here. Okay, let's see if there's a report at Whole Sword. If not, we'll jump into the news. It's not. It's trade talks with President of Lespia. We'll absolutely come back to that. That's super important. But let's take a look at the Whole Sword post here first. Commission to ensure competition and fair trade. The Rain administration has formed the Fair Trade Commission to ensure unchecked Arcasian capitalism doesn't take away from our citizens' quality of product and quality of product and profits benefit from the loyal citizens serving their country. Alright, that was really poorly worded on my part, but whatever. The new commission, overseen by experts from the state and private sectors, will create regulations to allow for fair competition and trade. In the end, our consumers will win by higher quality products being produced and entering the Swordfish market. Our local producers will also have a fair chance to compete against international companies by filing anti-competition lawsuits for unfair mergers that would hurt the local market. Fairness will be established in our marketplace. And Rain shatters Swordfish school tradition. Taking advantage of the full scope of his new presidential powers, Anton Rain single-handedly sounded the death knell for Swordland's traditional public school system by mandating equality among male and female students. We believe this will result in generations of Swordfish women who have no clue how to darn socks or bake their husbands a pie, but who do have their heads filled with useless numbers and figures. The women's livers must be thrilled, but we at the Post fear for the future of our country. Yeah, that's an absolutely terrifying prospect. I realize it's technically the 60s and they're all, misogynist douchebags, but at the same time, geez. It's not that big of a deal. All we're doing is giving us, slightly better education. Alright, anyway. And it looks like the Radical actually agrees with us finally. I don't know if that's good or not, but medicine is fully free. All medicine is fully free from now on. The highly but not fully subsidized prescription medicine has been made fully free by the state on this day through a decree signed by President Anton Rain. The joyous news was received positively by the very sick who rely on expensive medication imported from United Cantana or Acacia for illnesses like cancer. This move relieves the slight burden that was felt more on the backs of the working class. The administration has done a great service to the people through this action, and we hope that many more acts of state support come for welfare. Free healthcare for every sort of citizen is within reach now. Rain makes decree for gender equality. It took using his near-unlimited presidential powers to be able to do it, but Anton Rain finally made strides towards closing the gender gap in Sordland's notoriously antiquated education system. As of today, girls in the country's public schools must have access to the same classes and opportunities as boys. We still have a long way to go before women in this country are truly equal, but now that we know Rain can wave his hand and make these kinds of laws happen, we expect it's only a matter of time. We'll deal with the authoritarian implications later. Alright, and Geopolitico. Circling over Stallport. Patricio Alvarez, the Prime Minister of Lespia, on a scheduled visit to the Republic of Agnolia to meet Prime Minister Van Horten, had failed to get off the plane when it landed on the Stallport International Airport. It is believed that he had been too drunk to get off the plane. Fantastic. The assembled dignitaries waited at the airport at the scheduled hour, but Alvarez's plane did not land. Airport officials reported that it was circling over Stallport. After circling for 2 hours, the plane landed, but Alvarez did not come out. Lespian officials informed Van Horten that Alvarez was unwell and that the foreign minister joined the meeting instead. Alright, well that's absolutely fantastic considering we're supposed to be meeting this dude here in a minute. Nice, okay. Well, let's go meet with the possibly drunk president of Lespia. After a long whistle, Maroon train slowly started to move. This train had been in service for many years. It had 9 locomotives with a special quarters and an office. As the name implied, it was painted with a bright maroon color. Among the flashes and cheers, we departed from Holsworth Central train station. Our destination was Perla, the capital of Lespia. The historic route we were using was also called the Southern Express. We passed through the Lespian mountain range to the lowlands with a short stop at the beautiful Suzerain, where Lespian security forces joined us. Looking outside the window, the difference of wealth between Volgan and Saranuevo was extraordinary. I heard a knock on the door to my office on the train, and Simon entered.
Mr. President?
Simon, have a seat. He sat down on a chair in front of my desk.
I wanted to have a quick chat about Prime Minister Alvarez and give you a heads up. There have been some rumors about his demeanor in public appearances.
Go on.
He is known to have met with other state leaders while intoxicated on various occasions. Some even call him an alcoholic.
Is this something that could affect this trade deal?
Honestly, I don't know.
He handed me a newspaper. The headline was circling over Stallport.
This happened just yesterday. Apparently he was so drunk that he couldn't get off the plane on a diplomatic visit. After this incident, some say he's unfit to serve, but I don't believe that at all.
Why is that?
Although his presidency is riddled with these kinds of incidents, I also heard that he's a shrewd man.
Thanks for giving me a heads up. I mean, I already read that newspaper report, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
I'm sure we'll be fine, Mr. President. We're almost at Perla. I'll return to my cabin now.
Yeah, I'll see you when we arrive. A few minutes later, with a long whistle, our train came to a stop. I waved to the crowd from the window. Lots of reporters that flocked over were pushed away by the Lespian security guards. We made our way to our cars, and the convoy began its short trip to the Yellow House. The Yellow House was situated at the very center of Perla, in the middle of a circular park that was off-limits to regular citizens. The park was full of roses and roses on small patches. The convoy came to a stop, and I made my way to the entrance. The assistants directed me to a room to wait for Prime Minister Alvarez. That's a hard choice there. I started waiting in the exquisite room with golden chandeliers. I waited for around 10 minutes, and there was no sign of Prime Minister Alvarez. It was almost time for a meeting. My chair started to feel uncomfortable. I stood up and walked around and looked at the various items in the room. A beautiful golden teapot piqued my interest. I started inspecting the teapot. While I was touching it, the handle broke off. I looked around. Thankfully, no one was in the room. I left the broken handle next to the teapot. Good lord. Alright. The door opened and Patricio Alvarez entered. Although I knew he was one of the youngest state leaders in the world right now, I was still surprised by how tall he looked. At his young age, he was leading one of the strongest countries in Eastern Maricopa. He was holding his head like he had a headache, and he was stumbling. Upon seeing me, he immediately composed himself. We shook hands. He gestured towards the 2 couches, and we sat down face to face.
President Rain, welcome to Perla.
That voice is bad, but I didn't want to make it racist accidentally.
Good to have you here. I hear a lot about your successes.
Yeah, and I hear a lot about your successes as well, Mr. Alvarez.
I try, Mr. Rain.
I smelt the strong odor of alcohol. I didn't say anything. Let's keep it polite.
Let's begin then. So, you're here for the trade deal. What was it about again? Can you remind me?
We want to provide Sortish tungsten in return for the Lespian capital.
Ah, yes, right. Sorry, I've just been very busy lately. Got a bottle of whiskey that needs some attention. You know, being a president makes you pretty busy, so I don't have any issues with this deal. Except there is one problem.
Which means you have an issue, you idiot. He smirks.
Valen. Your decision to defend the border while Smollett committed war crimes diverted all those refugees here. Now we have a full-blown refugee crisis in Lespia, which unfortunately means that the price has gone up, Mr. Rain. I knew this was coming. So what's on the new price tag? Good intuition. I want the one thing that anyone could possibly ever want ever want out from Valen. I want their oil. I'm listening. A lot of oil from Valen is passing through Sordland, and Sordland Petroleum owns most of the oil trade in Sordland. You see where I'm going with that? Yeah, you want some backroom deals for a little bit of extra oil. I gotcha. I want you to sell me Sordland Petroleum, or the deal is off. Can I just, give you part of it? You really are a shrewd man, Mr. Alvarez. I'll take that as a compliment. Alright, this is probably a bad idea, but I'm doing it. Very well, I accept. My favorite phrase in this world, I accept. I'm overjoyed. This is start to bringing our countries closer than ever before. We Eastern Mercopans should stand together. We shook hands. Speaking of standing together, I want to talk to you about something. We, by we I mean ATO, would like to see Sordland in our sphere. What do you think, Mr. Rain? I mean, that's exactly what we were hoping for. That sounds excellent. How do we begin? Just the answer I wanted to hear. We need to form a defensive pact against United Contana and Eastern Mercopa until it's too late? Pretty sure it should be before it's too late. Otherwise, you're kind of dead. They will attack eventually. He clenched his fist and slammed it on the coffee table. Those damn communists. We need to stop them before it's too late. Fox and those barbarians prepare to invade Helluland with false accusations. Magnolia is first, Sordland will be next. I will be frank, Eastern Mercopa's only way to survival is through the ATO. And we need the support of one of the largest players in Eastern Mercopa, Sordland. I didn't know we were a large player, but I'll take the compliment. The beautiful country of Sordland is the key to all of us. We need you, Mr. Rain. We need Sordland. Are you with us? Will you defend our continent against the blight of communism? Alright, we're going to play coy. I can't decide without knowing what's in it for me. I see thee possess the mind of a man who understands business. I offer you an alliance. Together we'll shield the continent against Meleniev's evil. Not to mention that you'll have Arcasia's full backing, the most powerful ally you can have in this era. Good. I assume that's where he's going, but had to double check. I accept. Sordland will be allied to Lespia. Perfect. Brilliant. You don't know how valuable you are, Mr. Rain. I have a feeling that we're probably just a shock troop or something, but whatever, it's fine. You just saved your country from its demise. I'll personally talk to Mr. Walker to let him know of his achievement. We shook hands and he went for a hug. I could smell the alcohol in his breath. He looked at the clock. I'm afraid I have to leave now to attend other matters. Thank you for your visit. On his way to the door, he suddenly turned around. Before I forget, you owe me a teapot. He smiled and left the room. Whoopsie doodles. I returned the whole sword with good news. And the bad news, I accidentally broke $1 million teapot. But, details, it's fine. Nice, okay. Let's hit the news. Geopolitico. Sordland Lespia Pacts. The Sordish government has officially signed a new economic deal and a military pact with Lespia, which brings the two economies closer through an economic partnership agreement, as well as their militaries with the new military alliance. The Sordland-Lespia alliance was made official by President Rain and Prime Minister Alvarez in Perla yesterday. The deal is tailored to benefit both economies with big benefits to Sordish and Lespian businesses. It includes a strong commitment from Lespia to support Sordland with Lespian capital. It will also bring the militaries of both countries closer together through joint military training and intelligence sharing. According to the pact, both countries will join each other in any defensive wars. The signing marks a new period of close relations between Sordland and Lespia, which will see two like-minded democracies work together as allies.
Very nice. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have anything else going on here, just the next story beat. Which is a private meeting with Pater. Which sounds like it could be all sorts of fun. But we'll have to check that out next time. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you all next time.